This episode of Warbird Tube is brought to you in part by Aviation Discovery Fest. Celebrate and experience the wonder of flying. October 4th through the 6th in Dallas, Texas. Get your tickets at aviationdiscoveryfest.org.
Hey everybody, welcome to CAF Warbird Tube, the show where we talk about World War II, aviation, history, and so much more. Warbird Tube is produced by the Commemorative Air Force, the world's largest flying museum. Our mission is to educate, inspire, and honor through flight and living history experiences. The CAF began the Warbird movement more than 65 years ago, and thanks to the support of individuals like you, we continue to grow strong. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and now our host, Steve Buss. Thanks for watching and keep 'em flying.
Good evening. Welcome to CAF Warbird Tube, our live from Oshkosh edition, and we have put all the technology we could possibly find into one tiny box. And we're streaming from here down to CAF headquarters in Dallas, and we're going to bring you some stuff here from EAA. And we do want to thank the Experimental Aircraft Association and the Megatron Trimark folks for hosting us tonight. I'm your host, Steve Buss, and with me is CAF's president, Hank Coates. Hank, how have you been?
I've been awesome. You know, and the most awesome thing is I'm here to you 6 years later, doing this again on the same night.
I know, isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
We are here as we always do, get a mid-year check-in with CAF. How are things going down at headquarters?
It's going great. You know, it's been a super busy year, as was last year. Last year we had a record number of flight hours, awesome safety year. This year we're pushing the record number of safety hours again. We're addressing other issues. We pushing back over 7,000 active colonels again, which is, you know, that's good. Over 20,000 general members. That's great. So we're 181 aircraft. We think we haven't done a real research. We think that's the most that there's ever been at any one time in the CAF, and always looking to extend more. We've got a nice little Bell helicopter, you know, just the MASH helicopter, and they're out there, man. They're doing an awesome job down in South Louisiana, flying around, and so in every way, we have record number of flight hours.
You can hear behind us some big brown engines going.
There they go. There they go. Well, that's something you don't see every day. You got a B-29 and a Lancaster out there, and they're getting ready to go out there and do some practice formation flyings, make sure that they're really, really proficient with another B-29 and another aircraft. They're going to take some pictures. They're going to break up. They're going to brief, and then they're going to come back together. And then I do believe they're coming right down Show Center.
Yes, they are. They're going to open up the night air show. It's a formation. We were talking about this before. We think this is a formation that may have never happened before with B-29s and the Lancaster. Obviously, during World War II, the B-29s were all stationed in, for the most part, and the Lancasters, of course, by the Commonwealth, so they would have been at the European theater. So the chances of them flying together would have been pretty minimal, except maybe for some sort of promotional tour or victory tour or something after the war.
Unless it was a victory tour, maybe in Canada.
Right.
You know, I can't picture it, but it could have happened. We just not be aware of it.
That's right. Yeah. What are some of the other things that are happening this week here at AirVenture for CAF?
We've got about 20 aircraft here. There's one or two that I'm not sure if they've made it or they're trying to make it, but they're all your typical, you know, group of guys, P-51s, B-29s. Fours undergoing maintenance, but you know, Air Base Georgia's here. Our P-40 Warhawks down there in front of the Phillips 66 guys. Thanks to Mike Anderson, who was able to bring that up for us. The P-26 Buck with a Buckeye wing is going to be highlighted later this week at Warbird's in Review. We've announced a partnership with Trig Avionics for our Tampa Bay wing to help them out with some information. Air Base Georgia is giving Air Base rides. They're doing a lot of fun stuff. Our P-47 Thunderbolt renovation's working and underworking and going great. You know, this week like I said, we got about 20 aircraft here, and there's just hundreds of CAF members and CAF fans. And every time I go around a corner, usually I wear my shirt with a name on it. You know, I'm meeting new people, and you know, it's good because they tell me they're members and they're here and there, and it's not about me. It's about the CAF when I come here. And so I enjoy those conversations. And then at the end of it, I'm a Hank. I shake their hand and they go, oh, wow. So it's a lot of fun. It really is.
And of course, Beth Jenkins is here with Devil Dog. I saw her Facebook post, and she's selling T-shirts left and right.
Oh, she always does. And, this is, I think, I don't have the numbers. Jack can give them to us later, but I think this is the most attended first 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of an AirVenture that I'm aware of. The parking lots are full. The people are here. The weather's awesome. If it's cloudy, it's cool. Yep. And right now it's kind of sunny. I apologize for the sunglasses, but it has been super well attended.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's today, especially Wednesday with the night air show, huge crowd here already. And just to let you know, if you hear some background noise, they are painting the invasion stripes on the C-47 on the Boeing Plaza, the main display plaza, and they're doing it the way they did it back in Europe in 1944, and that is with mops and brooms and whatever they can
buckets.
Find. Yeah. And so they're having a sloppy mess over there on the plaza.
That'd be fun to do.
That would be.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to clean it up, though.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they laid down some Visqueen and maybe water-based paint to begin with.
So what's ahead for CA?
So, we're looking to have a great year this year as it all rolls around. And over the last few years, we certainly have had, the education piece is coming on board even stronger. Every year we get stronger and stronger. We have a brand new VP of education, and he's really leaning forward in the straps over at the NAAC. And I brought him up here because I think that EAA does such a great job with the education over at KidVenture. And I wanted the team to really, we do some of the things that EAA does, but I wanted to really replicate that. Copying is the sincerest form of flattery, so they say. And I believe these guys do such a great job here, and we want to emulate EAA to a degree. And we do a lot of things. We have the pilot scholarship by the Ray Foundation. That's going strong. We don't do as many as EAA does, but we do quite a few. The new unit initiative, we were talking to a group from Oregon today, old Navy squadron mate of mine, and talking about how that would work, where the CAF works with a group of people. They establish a new unit of 30 or 40 people, some pilots, get a business plan together, apply, and then generally within 3 to 6 months, usually the day they apply or very shortly thereafter, we'll get them a BT or PT-13, something like that. That's cheap to operate, friendly to operate, that the unit can coalesce around. And so we do 3 or 4 units like that a year. So we anticipate another 3 or 4 of those for the rest of this year. We're acquiring small aircraft. That happens on occasion. And so there's a lot of fun things. We got the Victory Ball, which will occur early next year. We've got the CAF conference, new units, new members, and a lot of big air shows. Yeah. And there's a wing in London. There's a wing in France. There's one in Switzerland. And we're talking to a group in Germany, oddly enough.
Yeah.
And but I will tell you that the German guys, I hope some of them are listening because they are awesome. If I could bottle whatever it is that they're drinking and feed it to the CAF people, and the CAF is awesome. Yep. America is awesome. I'm not knocking it at all. But those French guys, man, my wife and I worked with them at the Paris Air Show 4 or 5 years ago, and they are full. What is that? Joie de vivre, the joy of life. They are so happy. They embody everything that the CAF is, and they're amazing. They're just a hoot.
Oh, very good. Any final thoughts?
No, I want to thank Jack for having us here, and you for having us here. Warbirds of America, for being able to let us come and invade their party for a little bit. People keep trying to get me to do things, and I keep telling them this is not our party.
Right.
This is EAA's party, and we are just an invitee, and we really appreciate being here. Good. And I appreciate being here with you.
All right. Well, I appreciate it as well. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to stop by and join us here on Warbird Tube. Hank Coates, president of CAF. In just a moment, we will be back with Dick Knapinski from EAA.
Awesome.
And we're back on Warbird Tube, coming to you live from EAA, the Experimental Aircraft Association's AirVenture 2024. Joining me now, Dick Knapinski. Dick, good to see you once again.
Yeah, where'd all these airplanes come from?
I have no idea. You put out some airplane cookies and they all showed up. My goodness. What? So we're midweek, sort of midweek. We're Wednesday. Any preliminary numbers, airplanes, that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, we start off airplanes a little bit even, maybe a little bit down. We think some might be coming in for the Snowbirds this weekend and the Canadian Centennial of the RCAF, but mostly very strong. Camping is up.
Yes.
As you've been out in the campground or Camp Scholler, it is up. We have many people. The green auto lot has again become the green campground. So, but you're taking a look. Ultralights about 90% filled. Home built camping parking about 98% filled. More than 300 Warbirds already in here and more to come in. So just a sensational year in the weather. After we washed the airplanes yesterday, man, we are ready to rock and roll for the rest of the week.
That was an interesting rain shower yesterday.
Yeah, there were no green blobs on the radar. It just started raining.
Yes. I've never seen it. Most times, for those who are familiar with AirVenture, storms will come right up to the edge of the airport and then just magically drift either north or south. It's called the Oshkosh split.
Yep.
Not yesterday. It formed over Omro and came right here and stayed. And we were in the middle of trying to do the Young Eagles flight with Sean D. Tucker and Jimmy Graham, the co-chairs of the program, and it was just raining, and it started so fast I couldn't even get a raincoat, so everything was wet. But now it's not. Well, we needed some rain to get the dust in the campground gone.
Yep, there we go. But really, just a great start. Looking at this crowd tonight here for the Wednesday night show, and we heard the Lancaster take off and see the B-29 take off, and we were thinking before, how long has it been since a Lancaster and a B-29 have flown in formation? I mean, we might be talking 70 years, 75 years. So it's going to be something special to see that tonight.
That's right. Yeah. Stick around. We're going to cover that for you. So we'll have that at the very end of Warbird Tube tonight. Some of the other highlights that are coming up this week at AirVenture?
Well, today's Women Venture Day, so we had the big photo in front of the B-52. Theater in the Woods just finishing up right now with Nicole Batches. Great story on her part. Started Rainbow Helicopters in Hawaii when she was 27 years old. Now they run 8 touring helicopters, a whole bunch of employees, and really has built that up. And fewer than 5% of all helicopter pilots in the country are women. And that's a number that we want to get up there. One thing we had fun tonight, and I have to credit my comms colleague, Drew Stephanie, for this.
Okay.
He said, we were painting the invasion stripes. A big crowd out there watching the invasion stripes. We've done it. This is PR ultimate. We have gotten a big crowd of people to watch paint dry.
That's very good. Yes.
I said, you are young, but you are wise. And so that is going on. Of course, we're going to see the Snowbirds. They're going to come in, and then they're going to fly Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you're coming out to the show or you're at the show right now, remember modified crowd line.
Right.
Back to the speaker poles those 3 days because of the expanded aerobatic box. But just a tremendous amount of enthusiasm. Walking around, seeing some of the exhibitors, things like that. Everybody's pumped. It is fun. It's, and see the airplanes come in and just what people have brought in down in vintage. All the Arancas, we've all been around Arancas all our life, and see that many of them in one place. The Pepsi Cola airplane.
I've not seen that yet.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Just absolutely beautiful. I guess it's one of 2 flying that should be out here. So it's, and just the people you meet. The people that say, we had one guy from Brazil. He and his buddy flew around the world. He was telling me that, they were in Russia, trying to cross Russia. He said, Russia flying very bad. The airport very bad. Very bad. And so that was part of it. But that's kind of the vibe here.
Right.
So many different people, airplanes. Just seeing, I was giving a ride to a father and son from Salt Lake City. First time here. And it's just like, oh my goodness. We'd seen the videos on this, but oh my, nobody's ever said, this is smaller than I thought it would be.
That is very true. The end of the week is going to be, as you said, the Snowbirds. It's logistically challenging a little to get a flight team like that in, but at the same time, it's a huge traction. So there's a kind of a balancing act.
It is, because Oshkosh, for those folks who might not know, a very long, narrow aerobatic box. We have plenty north-south, but east-west is very tough, which is why we have to move the crowd back in those 3 days. On the east side of the airport, we've got some great businesses over there. We say, hey, can you shut down for 90 minutes for 3 days?
Yeah.
And they go, sure. And we say, hospitality tents right over there. And so they do.
Yeah.
And that is part of what Oshkosh, all the cooperation that makes this work, because you couldn't do it without those businesses on that side saying, yeah, we think it's important to have it here. And, the people of Oshkosh and so forth. And, you've been around here for a long time. You know that, some people say, well, I can't get my fish fried that Friday night.
That's
but
right.
Still, most people say, wow, what a tremendous thing. Those who live just north or south of the airport or out on the lake say, we're getting a free air show every single day coming in by us. And that makes it important too. And they welcome the world coming to Oshkosh every single year.
Well, speaking of the world, Frecce Tricolori was here yesterday, the Italian flight team. Just a brief stop. They landed, came over, met some folks, and then blasted off in the middle of the air show. But some of us old timers were reminiscing about the last time they were here, 1986.
There are stories about when they were here for several days, and they've been confirmed. Paul Poberezny, Henry Ogrozinski, who was Paul's right-hand man at the time. Some stories about them. The Italian team being out there, apparently driving on the sidewalk in Italy is okay, but it's funny because they really wanted to do a loop when they were here.
Yes.
And they had to tell them, no looping. Looping is out. And so, but the show they put on, the green, red, and white smoke, tremendous. Very pretty. Those 10 airplanes just in perfect formation coming around, you can tell they were having a lot of fun out here as well. And now they're back in Milwaukee to do it all again for their air show this coming weekend.
Yes. I saw at one point NASA's administrator, Bill Nelson, was here, and he was in front of the hospitality, air show hospitality area, and all the Italian team was just gathered around him, and they were hanging on his every word. It was, and again, it's something that only happens at Oshkosh.
That's true.
It's not going to happen anywhere else.
And it is. People are fascinated by that. He stopped by the press tent, and it was kind of funny. Yesterday, at one point we had Sean D. Tucker talking about the Bob Hoover Academy in the news conference area. We had NASA Administrator Bill Nelson in the hospitality area doing media availability. We had a passel of Italian pilots running around on Boeing Plaza being chased by reporters. So all of that was going on. And like I said, this is a combination of people and airplanes that you will find no place else in the world. It's that simple. It brings people together, just the joy of flight. People who want to learn more about it, and that's what makes it so special and just part of the culture.
And the cat is out of the bag. Have you read Jerry Burke's book? Jerry Burke, for those who don't know, was a reporter at Channel 2, a Green Bay TV station, and has covered back when it was the EAA convention through AirVenture through 70 years. Of being here. And he retired last year. He was a volunteer, planeside chats that he was doing. And he wrote a book about volunteers. And one of the stories that you and I tell frequently to newcomers is the story of the tow bar and the C5 tow bar. C5 tow bar. So if you get Jerry Burke's book, you can finally read about the story that we've kind of kept under wraps for all these years.
That's right. And how to get a tow bar here at 1:30 in the morning. When the airport's closed.
It's a good story, so I'll put in a plug for Jerry's book. Dick, what are you looking forward to seeing this year?
The Snowbirds, I remember them in 2016 when they were here, and they flew such an elegant show. And I've told people this. I said, the Thunderbirds and the Blues are terrific teams, world's best. Quintessentially American.
Right.
You get the loudest engine of something, and you put it on something and fly as fast as you can next to each other. Right. The Canadians are quintessentially Canadian. The Snowbirds, this elegant show that is just wonderful. And, so I'm looking forward to that. The CF-18, that airplane, just the way it's painted and just wonderful for the centennial of the RCAF. Those are some of the things I'm really looking forward to because it's something a little bit different. Let's take off tonight.
Right.
This I'm looking forward to, the 229s and the Lancaster together. That I'm looking forward to. And you've been around the show enough to say, some of it, okay, it's the same every year. Mm-hmm. Yep. And say, all right, that's been done before.
Right.
But then there's those little twists like we have here, and we call them the only at Oshkosh moments.
That's right.
That take place. And those you go, yeah, I remember those. And you and I have talked about that a lot. Those things we remember from 10, 20, 30 years ago that, we still remember those because they were only at Oshkosh moments.
Good. What's ahead for EAA once all the airplanes go home?
Or take a breath. I'm gonna get some sleep. You go in and first of all, you collect all the feedback from the volunteers. You can't give them enough credit. The 6,000 volunteers out here that make that work, and that's so important. Get their feedback. What worked? What can we improve on? And then you start. We're already talking to people about 2025.
Right. What
can we do in 2025 to bring here? It's going to be hard to believe this. 80 years since the end of World War II.
Right.
How do we celebrate that? And that is so tough, especially with the diminishing number of vets we have from World War II. You know, and it was amazing. You know, one of the Tuskegee Airmen made it, age 100. He was here.
Yes.
And so thank you to Mr. Harvey. He made it here, and celebrate that. So those are the kind of things. But then we've got so many things. Jimmy Graham, taking over as chairman of the Young Eagles, has all kinds of ideas that he wants to bring forward. You know, you talk about some of the youth programs that we have there. The museum continues to improve. And there are some big things coming up there, like with QR codes, to make it more of an interactive tour. All of those things are part of it. All of those things are things that we work on in the off season.
Right.
But we're going to get some sleep first.
If you want to keep up with everything EIA is doing, EIA.org is the place. It'll unlock, first of all, the membership organization, AirVenture, all the live streams that are going on throughout the week, and just a myriad of things that are there. All the education programs, Young Eagles, Eagle Flights, it's all there. So EIA is rocking and rolling, and this show is off to a great start.
Off to a great start. Weather should hold great for the next 3-4 days, and boy, that's super, because the people come out then, and we get to introduce them to aviation if they haven't been there before, and meet old friends if they have.
All right. Well, good. Dick Knapinski from EIA and Corporate Communications, and he's in charge of all the PR stuff. So if something goes well, he takes credit, and if it doesn't, he gives it to his assistant, right?
Right.
Very good. Dick, thanks for joining us, and look forward to the Night Air Show.
Thank you. You too.
And we're back, just off Boeing Plaza at EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2024. This is CAF Warbird 2 live from Oshkosh. Joining me now, Eric Zipkin. Eric is in charge of the Tunisian Foundation, and he gets to fly that gorgeous C-47 Placid Lassie. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
It's been a whirlwind year for you so far, hasn't it?
It has indeed.
You helped lead the C-47s that went across the ocean to commemorate the 80th anniversary of D-Day. How did all of that come together?
Well, it's like everything. It's a little bit of a long and winding tale, but it actually started about 10 years ago when I was invited to participate in the 70th anniversary of D-Day in Europe. We went across as a single aircraft, and the reception was so extraordinary, and we had such a great time, and really kind of proved that it was possible. We went back for the 75th and created the D-Day Squadron, which was the group of aircraft that went over. And sometimes momentum is a very powerful thing.
Right.
And we ended up doing it again for the 80th anniversary.
Okay. How many airplanes went with you this time?
So this time it was a little bit smaller. It was 6 aircraft. And then we had about another 6 aircraft in Europe that joined us. Okay. So we still had a good, a light squadron, and the reception was actually, if anything, even greater than it was in 70 and 75.
Good. What were some of the logistical challenges that went into planning this and executing?
Oh, it's a laundry list.
Right.
When you move a large aircraft like C-47, I mean, you have a long tail. And it's not a single seat fighter where you have 1 or 2 people to work with. So the basic logistics of moving, at one point in time, probably 75 or 80 people, and moving them from place to place and lodging them and feeding them. That's logistical challenge number 1. Specific to the aircraft, it's becoming more and more challenging to run piston aircraft around the world. Fuel availability was a greater challenge than it was the last couple times, especially as you get closer into Europe. Also, the availability of insurance.
Okay.
The insurance levels of insurance coverage required in Europe are very high, and the insurance market has tightened quite a bit. So, those were kind of the biggest challenges that we faced. In the process, that one of the benefits was a little bit less challenging because we had proven that we could do it. Right. It could do this, which was very nice.
You started out on the East Coast and did some, formation work and things before.
Yep. Yeah. So we started at my home airport, Oxford, Connecticut. So the Tunisian Foundation operates Placid Lassie, and it's the parent organization of the D-Day Squadron, and partners with organizations like the Commemorative Air Force and a number of other flying museums throughout the world, really. But we gathered it at Oxford and for a couple days, and we did a variety of different things, really all built around building a team, because we really do. You never know. Eisenhower said, plans are nothing, but planning is everything. And planning that process and going through the process of adapting held us in very good stead. So we did several days of formation training, survival training, a little bit of socialization. We flew around Manhattan, as a flight around the Statue of Liberty. So it was pretty cool.
And then off across the pond.
And across the pond. Exactly.
How many stops did you make on the way?
So we actually had a couple extra stops that were not technically necessary, but because back in 2019 we had such great reception at Presque Isle, Maine. The folks there, the entire town came out, and this time around they came out again and put us up and helped support us. So we stopped in Presque Isle, Maine, again in Goose Bay, Labrador, and then Narsarsuaq, which is southern tip of Greenland, also known famously known as Bluey West 1. Okay. And if you read your Ernie Gann, your Fate is the Hunter, and then from there to Reykjavik to Prestwick, Scotland. And then onward to a variety of different airports, but mostly we were based mostly in North Weald, just north of London.
And aside from the actual anniversary flyovers, you made a number of stops at different locations in England before the final day.
We did, and we participated in a number of different events in England. Several commemorative flyovers. We actually flew over the U.S. Cemetery in Cambridge on Veterans Day. Okay. On Memorial Day. We also participated in a number of shows at Shuttleworth Collection and then also at Duxford at the Imperial War Museum.
Good. And then after the Normandy commemoration, on to Berlin for the
Berlin, yeah,
anniversary there as well of the Berlin airlift.
It's really I love this part of the whole story and of the whole trip is that we started in war, in invasion, right, and we ended in peace and right. in the humanitarian mission. So we were commemorating the 75th anniversary of the Berlin airlift. We were at the Wiesbaden Army Airfield, which historically was very much a base of aircraft that fed the city of West Berlin for over a year, and really, by many accounts, kind of set the stage for the world that we the post-war world that we know in Europe today.
And earlier this week, I had an opportunity to interview a four-star General Jackie Van Ovost, and she is in charge of the U.S. Transportation Command. Okay. And we talked about the history and the Berlin airlift, and that and logistical support in Vietnam is really what led to Transcom being founded. So that event in Berlin was really pivotal even in today's armed forces.
It's interesting that whole event is indeed it proved the logistical, even more so than World War II did, the logistical capabilities of airlift, and many of the procedures that we use today, date back to that period of time. They were developed specifically for that event.
Right. And then back home.
I'm pleased to say that everybody made it back home safe and sound. Yep. And we are now back here kind of doing our victory lap. We just flew the last 2 days here at AirVenture, right? With a number of the D-Day Squadron aircraft and teams, and it's wonderful when you have a team of pilots that you've been flying with for a while, and you have that history, you have that camaraderie, and then there's no better opportunity to showcase the aircraft, the history, the working together of the multiple organizations, because again, each large aircraft is a large group of people, and showing that those large groups of people, no matter what the organizations are, that they can work together is really bodes very well for aviation, for the Warbird community, right, going forward.
Were there any maintenance issues, unexpected maintenance issues? I understand that there probably were some oil changes and things that went along the way.
Yeah, look, you're flying a 80-plus-year-old airplane. A couple cylinder changes. We did have one aircraft replace a motor. Actually, two aircraft ended up replacing engines. And I say it's really not. It's unfortunate. It's certainly a delay and whatnot, but you do expect when you fly that much that those sorts of things are going to happen. But it was a safe operation. The teams were extraordinarily professional, and they really, had a very strong focus on safety, and we're back here safe and sound because of it.
Good. Do you know how many hours you logged in Placid Lassie?
So I personally flew 75 hours in 45 days. Wow. And I am one of 5 captains on the aircraft that was flying actively. So we flew quite a bit. Right. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it was a little bit of a smaller group. And because we had shown that this was possible, we had a lot of demand for our flying, more demand for our flying even than 5 years ago. So I don't remember the number, but it was in the thousands of paratroopers that we dropped. Like the paratroopers we saw today,
Right.
Think of hundreds, if not thousands, of those over and over.
Wow.
Again, over Normandy, and so we were in high demand.
Good. And describe the feeling of flying over for that commemoration.
So the when you finally get there and you get to Normandy and you're flying, you realize that you are flying over the beaches. It's not something that looks like it. It's not and the aircraft, that's all Brother, Placid Lassie, and some of the other aircraft are actual D-Day veteran aircraft. They're not, they're actual combat veteran aircraft. And to be over the beaches and look down and to think that somebody who was less than half my age, actually my son's age, my 19-year-old son came with us, and it was my son's age. We're actually flying over the beaches 80 years prior. It's a very, very powerful thing, and you don't really appreciate it until you actually experience it.
You mentioned your son. That was kind of a personal addition for this trip.
It was a personal addition for this trip. My older son, both my sons are pilots. We're kind of an aviation family, and he got his multi-engine rating in Twin Beach a couple months prior to going to Europe, and got his SIC type rating in the DC-3 just a few weeks before we kicked off. So he was one of my co-pilots.
Okay.
All the way going back and forth across the pond, which was very special and also sobering, because he's 19, and many of the young men that perished would have been his age.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. A very powerful reminder of what was sacrificed for our freedoms today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Eric, thank you very much for joining us today. Eric Zipkin from the Tunisian Foundation, also Chief of Staff with CAF.
Yep. I wear many different hats here, and actually it's testament to how the organizations work together. Yeah. And it's building bridge. That's big thing that's very important to me, is building bridges amongst the entire Warbird community.
All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you so much.
All right. And we'll be back. Jim Zazas will join us in a few moments, and we'll take a look at some photos from the Warbird area. And we're back. And joining us, Jim Zazas. Jim and I go way back, and Jim is a dedicated Warbird pilot. He's flown a wide variety of Warbird aircraft. You name it, you've probably flown it, right? Almost? Almost. Including some pretty exotic aircraft. But I understand your Luscombe is your favorite.
Yep.
Absolutely. And Jim helps us out on the announcer stand. He does some spotting for Danny Clisham when he talks about the Warbird shows. But I also sent you out as our secret photographer to kind of take a look at some of the aircraft that we have here on the ground at AirVenture. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about this one.
Oh, this one's B-47D. It was recently restored. And it's a Pacific, has a combat history in the Pacific Theater.
Really?
So it is a very remarkable aircraft. It went through a very extensive restoration, and considering the corrosion that it had being in the saltwater environment.
Okay.
But most of the metal had been replaced.
Very good, very good. And I think coming up we have some of the Mustangs that are down there in Fightertown.
Yeah, they're in Fightertown. We have a B-51A, very rare bird.
Yes.
There are only less than a handful that are flying these days.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
And there we go.
And now we got the more traditional Mustang, the B-51D. When people think of a Mustang, they think of the bubble canopy, and this be much closer to the more traditional, what most people think of is when they think of a Mustang.
Right. About how many, do you know offhand how many Mustangs are down there?
Last count, I think there were close to 14.
Oh, okay. Very good. And then I saw the picture slide forward to Corsairs. We have 4 on the ground right now.
We have at least 4.
Yeah. Including the one from Airbase Georgia.
Yes.
Which is here as well. Who else has brought Corsairs?
Well, Jim Tobel has. And then you have Airbase Georgia. This is the CAF bird, and flown extensively. And then we have one from southern Wisconsin that has come up.
Okay. Is that a new restoration?
No, I believe it. It's been around for a bit.
Okay.
And I may be mistaken. I may be confusing it with another one, but they change hands now and then.
every once in a while. And
yeah,
an important distinction that they do have different not owners but caretakers.
Caretakers.
That's right.
I never called an owner for these old Warbirds. I always say a caretaker.
Yes, and amazingly, I think in the Warbird community, that's become more and more the norm. I think years ago, people thought, well, this is my Mustang, and now the feeling is more, I'm taking care of it for now, and I'm going to make sure I take good care of it so I can pass it on to someone else and
exactly.
continue flying it. And there we go, 3 of our Corsairs.
Another P-51 Mustang. I like the lineup here because they had the spinners that were lined up in the landing gear, and you notice the white line. Everyone is all lined up, nice. And I'd recommend it for anyone that's going into visit the fighter town area. Do it early in the morning. You don't have the crowds. You don't have the people, and it gives you a great opportunity to get up close and personal with the airplanes.
Yeah. So we looked at the noses. Now we look at the tails. and really, testament not only to the pilots who are operating the airplanes, but also to the line crews that park them.
Yes.
I mean, they're very, very specific in where they want those airplanes.
There is a very specific parking plan. And at everything, in the fighter town, on the Warbird ramp, the parking area, the jets, the bombers, everyone every aircraft has a specific area where it's going to be parked.
Good. Lancaster, we had the Lancaster just behind us, just before we went on the air, and along with FIFI, and they took off a minute ago. But this is a very rare airplane. There's only 2 Lancasters flying in the world.
That's true.
And this is from Canadian warplane heritage.
Yes.
And
we're very fortunate to have it here at AirVenture, but celebrating the 100th anniversary of Canadian aviation. This is a very significant part of the history.
Oh, yes. And Eric Zipkin was here just a moment ago talking about all the C-47s that are here. Today is sort of a salute to D-Day.
Yes.
Going on, and Placid Lassie is here. There was one called, Yacht.
Well, I know we've got That's All Brother.
That's All Brother,
here.
yes.
That's sitting on the rim. Yeah.
So there it is.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
It's amazing to see that airplane and know that it came from the boneyard over at Basler Turbo Flight,
and it was
across the street.
And it was just a total accident that was discovered.
Yes.
Researchers thought, well, wait a minute, I've got these numbers. Is this really true? Is this airplane over there?
Right.
And it was just within a week or 2 of going through the conversion process to be converted into a turbine.
The folks at Basler's had an inkling that it had that history, but they're interested in turning out BT-67s,
yes,
right? That's how they make their living. So they just kind of set it aside and hoped that someone would kind of do some research on it. When the Commemorative Air Force got it, Adam Smith and Keegan Chetwynd, who were both on staff, took the view of trying to prove that it was not the lead airplane in the D-Day invasion. Rather than trying to prove it was, they tried to prove it wasn't. And at every turn, when they said, no, this is it. Every piece of information they got kept pointing to the fact that this was the airplane that led the aerial invasion. I know the Pathfinders went in first, but the actual aerial invasion with all the...
with the 800 airplanes that followed behind it and carrying the troops, that was the lead aircraft.
Yeah.
And then, ahead of it, of course, you had the Pathfinders.
Right. Yeah, amazing. Of course,
yes.
Our favorite, FIFI.
Our favorite. And we'll be seeing that very shortly.
Yes. So, unlike previous years, the FIFI was actually down in the Warbird area rather than on the main display ramp.
That's true.
And I think it's going back there tonight after the air show, or probably first thing in the morning.
First thing.
Yeah, that's good.
But that is a must-see airplane.
Yes. And all right, we're back to more Mustangs.
Unfortunately, I didn't get out into the area where we have the Mitchell's Park, the B-25s and A-26. We've got 4 B-25s on the ramp. We got an A-26 or B-26, depending on the nomenclature you want to use. We've got the UC-78, the Bamboo Bomber, parked out there. And then we've got a flight line of various propeller-driven aircraft out there. We got a C-1A that is parked, the carry-on-board delivery aircraft.
Yes. Okay.
A lot of people confuse it with the S-2F.
Okay.
But different missions. S-2F was primarily anti-submarine warfare patrol, whereas the C-1A was a carry-on-board delivery. It would bring people and cargo on board the carrier.
Right.
And it's a cool bird to see. You don't see one too often.
More Mustangs. That's always a crowd favorite. Is the Mustang?
Hands down.
Yeah, we saw them fly the other day in the Warbird show. We'll see more of them probably Friday and Saturday.
Yes.
Jet Warbirds are on tap for tomorrow for Thursday. It's a really great variety of aircraft that are down there. Do you have any idea of what the numbers are as far as aircraft?
I have not seen, but just walking around this morning and walking around yesterday, it's significant.
Right.
I'm going to say, 350, 375 at least Warbirds, including everything, T6, the T-28s, the bombers, the fighters. It's a great turnout.
Good.
It really is a great turnout.
And a number of smaller aircraft that have gained popularity in the years.
Yes.
The BTs, the liaison aircraft, some kind of exotic aircraft that were in the show today as well.
Yes. Yes.
So it's really a huge variety and a great place to come and see Warbird. So we're encouraging you to come on down and take a look. If you're at AirVenture, come and take a look at the Warbird area. Jim, anything that you're looking forward to seeing yet?
Tonight, I want to see the formation with the two B-29s and the Lancaster.
All right. Sounds good. Jim, thanks for taking some pictures for us and kind of giving us a sneak peek at what's in the Warbird area. And we'll look for you up on the stand.
Excellent.
All right. Thanks. Jim Zazas, also a CAF member. And we will be back in just a couple of minutes. We talked with Eric Zipkin a few minutes ago about the 80th anniversary in Normandy. We're going to talk to one of the other pilots who was part of that as well, right after we come back here on CAF Warbird 2. Thanks for joining us here on Warbird Tube as we are live from EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2024. Joining me now, TJ Cook, who was one of the pilots on That's All Brother on the trip across the ocean and for the Normandy recreation and anniversary.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
No, hey, thanks a lot. Happy to be here. This is awesome. My first time in Oshkosh.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. Love this. This is fantastic.
Okay. How long were you with That's All Brother? Were you there for the whole thing, or did you kind of?
No, I did the cleanup cruise. So
okay.
I met the airplane in north of London.
Okay.
After our maintenance checks, and I helped bring the airplane back home.
Oh, okay. What was it like flying back across the ocean?
It's kind of surreal. Fortunately, this is the second time I got to do this in 2019. I was part of the cleanup crew, I kind of call it, brought it back. Okay. But it's surreal. We're flying this beautiful airplane across the ocean on the same routes they did during the war.
Right.
And it's very humbling. Oh. It's an honor to be able to do that.
Good. Were you able to do any of the PR stops that took place during the tour?
No, I didn't do it. So yeah, just we picked the airplane up and just worked our way back home.
Okay. Well, That's All Brother with its history. What's it like to sit in that cockpit and actually fly that airplane knowing what its mission was on D-Day?
When I first got checked out in the airplane, I'm learning the airplane. I was focused on there, learning the DC-3, coming from my background. It's like, all right, really figure out the still dragger thing. It wasn't until I got checked out in the airplane that the history really hit me. I kind of tell folks when I give tours of the airplane is when they walk through the door of the airplane, I go, think who has stepped through that door.
Right.
Think of the history of that door. And it makes people pause.
Absolutely. Well, I know I had a very similar experience with that before That's All Brother was restored. It was over at Basler's, and we brought it over to AirVenture to display it that year. And I actually sat in the door as they towed it across. And as we were crossing the runway, it struck me the enormity of what that door represented.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it had still been there, 70 years later. So it's an amazing aircraft.
It really is. I mean, it's honor and humbling to be able to, fly it around, come kind of events like this and share the history with people with it. Because we were doing a tour stop a year ago, and we're letting people, walk in the airplane. Right. This lady with the two young kids, she came back. She had tears in her eyes, and I thought she hit something, hurt herself. So I walked up to her, I go, "Hey, are you okay, ma'am?" She's like, "No, I'm just soaking up the history."
Yeah.
And I still get goosebumps. That story is like going, wow. I mean, that's kind of what we all do. It's just, we have an impact in people's lives. You're with kind of cool.
Yes. You're with the Central Texas Wing.
Yes, sir.
And you have That's All Brother. What other aircraft do you have down there?
We have the B-25 Yellow Rose, one of the few P-39s. Yep. Then we have a T6, BT-13, a Cessna 310, a U-3. And that's it. So that's a lot of airplanes.
That's a lot of airplanes.
And a Beech-18. I forgot that one. I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah. And how do you take care of all of those aircraft?
Like all this, it's all volunteers. We got a great team down there. A lot of people, the maintenance guys, the pilots, everybody doing the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, it's a huge team effort, and it's a lot of work, a lot of labor, love, and a lot of people put a lot of sweat and tears into it. Sure. to keep them going.
How many of the aircraft that you have actually tour?
Really, That's All Brother. That's kind of the lead airplane for us.
Okay.
The B-25 Yellow Rose is getting back online.
Okay.
And it's going on tour this year.
Okay.
So the goal is just tour those two airplanes and hopefully maybe the Beech 18 in the future.
Okay. Do you have any tour stops aside from Oshkosh lined up for That's All Brother this fall?
Yeah, we sure do. So Friday, Saturday, we're going to be in Appleton selling rides.
Okay.
Then we're going to take it to the Air Force Museum for a couple days.
Oh.
Then at Urbana Grimes Field by the Air Force Museum, we're going to do one rides day.
Right. And
then go to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and then work our way back to San Marcos.
Wow. Okay. Will you be on any of those tour stops?
No, I have to go back to work on Friday. I wish I could, but I like the paycheck. So
yeah, that's true, which allows you to fly the airplane.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, right on.
Yeah. So when you were on tour, you mentioned the lady who had that emotional experience. Have you interacted with any veterans? I know there's very few left. But have any of them come out to the airplane?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
There's about year and a half ago, it was a Birmingham stop. This guy was 99 years old or 100 years old. He is a radio operator flying C-47s over the hump.
Okay.
So he came out to the airplane. He's kind of slow. He walked up in a rocker. We got him in the airplane. He sat in there and he's telling stories. And then he's like, I want to go to the cockpit. I go, sir, go for it.
Yeah.
He stood up at the rocker, did a couple steps, and he goes, I can't do it. So we're like, hey, no problem. Sit down. His family's around him. We're talking to him. After about 5-10 minutes, he's like, I'm going up there. And Steve, he got the rocker and he just went up to the cockpit. And, he came back down after about 20 minutes and we put him in his golf cart. And something that just really affected me, he's sitting in this golf cart, eyes closed, his hands are shaking in front of him. And I'm looking at him like, is he okay? And he goes, I feel the vibrations. And he's just reliving what he did, flying over the hump. That's one of those cool experiences.
And that's why we do what we do, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So with the Central Texas Wing, what other projects do you have going on? Anything in the restoration bay?
Yeah, so the P-39 is kind of going through a restoration right now. It's kind of, it's getting stripped down. A lot of work that needs to go into that airplane to get it back in flying status. The B-25 just kind of got back. It did a couple years of a lot of TLC and loving going on.
Okay.
But she's running good. She's, getting back on the tour market.
Very, very good. And with the Central Texas Wing, how many members do you have?
I think we're about 135,
Okay.
140, 150 range in that one.
Okay.
And that seems to be a consistent number for us.
Good. That's one of the larger units, obviously, in the Commemorative Air Force.
Yeah, it's very fortunate to be able to be a part of it.
Good. Good. What do you have coming up here at Oshkosh? Are you flying again?
No, we're just sitting static here.
Okay.
So we'll head out either Thursday night, Friday morning, depending on the timing. But
Okay.
yeah, no, it's just sharing the history of the airplane, giving a lot of tours of That's All Brother, and I'm just soaking it in. I'm still kind of blown away by this, just the enormity of this whole thing. So it's been a bucket list. So.
Good, good. Any aircraft that you've seen aside from That's All Brother that kind of caught your eye?
It's all pretty cool. The Lancaster, I've never seen it. That was just it's impressive they brought the airplane. So, but no, I mean it's just there's so many beautiful airplanes here. It's pretty impressive.
Very good. Well, we actually have a national anthem going on here, which is a surprise. So we'll pause just for a moment.
Okay.
Well, that was unexpected, but a beautiful rendition.
Oh, absolutely
the
beautiful.
national anthem. All right. Well, any final thoughts before we wrap up tonight?
No, I mean, I'm just very impressed with Oshkosh. I mean, this is just mind blowing.
Well, good.
So this has been a neat experience for me.
All right. TJ Cook, he's with the Central Texas Wing, and that's all, brother. And in just a moment, if everything works out the way it's supposed to, you never know here at Oshkosh, we will be looking at the two B-29s, FIFI and Doc, and the Lancaster from the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum. They're going to open up the night air show. We'll have that for you. So stick around, stand by. And if you take a look right now, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see a formation, as we've talked about several times in the show today. Two B-29s and the Lancaster bomber, a very rare sight, this bomber parade. We're going to let the airplanes come into view a little better. They're out over Lake Winnebago, headed straight in, and they'll do a flyover right over Whitman Regional Airport. The B-29 FIFI, of course, operated by the Commemorative Air Force. She's been flying since 1974. The B-29 Doc by Doc's friends, flying the last probably about 10 years or so. And the RCAF Lancaster made an appearance here at Oshkosh back in the mid-90s. And we are very pleased to see these three aircraft all in the same airspace. All right, we'll let you listen to this very unique sound. A little bit of extra pyrotechnics to start out the night air show. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap things up for me for CAF Warbird Tube. But if you want to watch the live stream of tonight's show, just go to EAA.org/AirVenture/live. You will see all of the acts that will be taking place tonight, along with the finale, which includes fireworks, drones. The CAF bomb squad from Tora 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 is here. They will add some pyrotechnics as well. So I encourage you to head over to EAA.org, check out that live stream, and please check it out and watch the rest of the night air show. So for that, that's going to wrap up CAF Warbird Tube for tonight. Thanks again for being here. If you like what you saw, please share it on your social media platforms. And if you have any thoughts about this show or any of our other shows or something for upcoming topics, please drop us an email, media@cafhq.org. The big jets are coming up next, so head over to EAA.org and check out the live stream. I'm Steve Buss. Until next time, this is CAF Warbird Tube.